I think I'm alone in this group. I think I'm kind of afraid to be alone in this group. I surveyed these people. I focus grouped them. And they are really, really tired of being accused of either racism or sexism because they voted for Donald Trump. And it's one of the reasons why so many of them did. I sat on this stage with you and got chewed out when I suggested there's a better language to reach out to voters, that the Harris campaign is missing what they're looking for.
That's political consultant Frank Luntz reluctantly telling a panel of progressive pod people on CNN why Americans rejected their divisive politics last election. Welcome to Nerk News, I'm Nerkish, and if you've ever wanted a perfect example of what woke ideology does to someone, look no further than this clip of Frank Luntz timidly attempting to tell a group of liberals about some unpleasant survey results he found.
These are predetermined considerations.
But no.
You were going
you're
to
assuming,
do.
You're telling me I'm
do you
calling
want an
you,
answer?
Well, you're not answering my question. You're telling
yes,
me.
I'm trying to.
You were
No,
telling me
Actually,
that.
Your response is in bad faith. And instead, you pivot to talking about how terrible it is that some people who voted for Donald Trump are being called racist and sexist. You're refusing to grapple with the central tension.
My understanding.
Frank, it's an option.
Hold on.
Frank, it's an
because
option
my
for
understanding
Trump.
is of the voter.
Frank,
that is what I do.
It is an option.
What about
for
the immorality and the incompetence
Frank,
of
it's an
blaming
option
DEI
for Donald
for what
Trump.
happened?
You guys can all jump on me. That's
no,
fine.
I'm not jumping on you. I'm trying to have a conversation with you. Okay, look, it is an option for Donald Trump to respect his voters and not scapegoat race in a situation like that. He chooses not to every time. Why?
He is saying, and I do not defend him, and I've not defended him on this program, because there are things that are more important than Republican and Democrat, and it's why some people lost primaries, and some people are not members of Congress anymore. I'm trying to tell you the truth.
Well, look, you don't have to listen. I just won my
Mondare,
primary, but you don't have to lecture me.
Hold on, Mondare. Let me let him finish.
I mean, if you're gonna throw shots, I'm
Mondare, just a second. Let me let him finish.
This is why this show is such a challenge for me, because I really am, and I've been on this show and criticized him many times. I've been on this show and praised him. In the end, how do we get beyond how we look? How do we get beyond how we sound? Because in the end, we all have a right to a point of view, and I respect yours.
Yeah, I just don't respect the gaslighting and the bad faith conversation.
I also think...
You know, this reminds me a lot of that interview on The View where Coleman Hughes, who's a liberal, by the way, set everyone off by calmly suggesting that we judge people based on the content of their character. I mean, this is frankly a perfect example of why liberals are striking out with young men, because this type of behavior is the end result of entertaining their nonsense if you don't belong to one of their various victim groups. You can vote however they want and agree with them all day long, and will still end up a timid lapdog begging for scraps who's treated like crap and constantly threatened to be taken to the pound.
You cannot talk about getting beyond all of those things, race, hyphens, whatever it is, when at the highest offices of the land, you have someone saying, because there is diversity, there is a lack of merit, there is a lack of quality, there is a lack of experience. That is a racist view, that people who have characteristics that they cannot change about them, that don't tell you anything about their intellect, about their experience, are by definition not experienced. Do you understand that?
I do, because I listen to this. I hear this, and I internalize it. And for those who feel like they're being marginalized, we have to do more.
It's not just about being marginalized. It's just about recognizing
I just said I agree with you.
I know, I'm saying, but look, I'm not trying to use academic... I'm not trying to use academic language to talk about this. I'm just saying that there are people, look, a couple days ago, there was a Harvard-educated Olympic track star was told that she wasn't qualified to have gone to Harvard, that she was basically a DEI admit to Harvard. I mean, that just from a human
yes, that's
perspective.
Wrong.
That is
we
wrong.
all agree that's wrong.
Can I ask you a question about this?
We all agree with that, but there's nothing I can say to you on this panel for any of you that's going to satisfy you. How do we get to the point when we are judged by our merit, when you're judged by our performance? I've had two experiences. Number one is my house almost burned down in Brentwood. I wasn't even there to see it. And I want the best people possible to be on the front lines fighting that fire.
The problem here is that it's been shown time and time again that the majority of conservatives can understand where liberals are coming from, but liberals have zero understanding where conservatives are coming from. Philip and the other liberals on this panel have been so brainwashed that they think terminating affirmative action programs that prioritize superficial characteristics is some sort of personal attack on them as human beings. I mean, for crying out loud, Thomas Sowell has been talking about this for the past 50 years. And the basic fact of the matter here is that if they don't like being questioned about their qualifications, they should stop supporting hiring practices that prioritize race and sex over meritocracy.
I hear this and I get it. And you're correct and you're correct. The question is, do we beat up on it and yell about it and complain, or do we try to get a solution? Do we try to get beyond it? And the problem is, there's nothing I can say that's going to convince you.
But in order for us to get beyond it, Donald Trump and the woke right, they have to stop talking about it. The reason that we're talking about it is because it was a deliberate decision that the Trump administration made.
And to be clear, our discussion of it is not out of nowhere. It's not something we created out of whole cloth. It doesn't mean that we're harping on something that the American people would rather we not talk about. It is responding directly to something that happened.
And the only person who, to your point, injected race into this is Donald Trump.
You know, this is another sleazy game the left loves to play. They create these awful things and push them onto the American people nonstop, and when voters have finally had enough and start pushing back, the left acts like they're the ones who are obsessed. I mean, we've been getting lectured about this stuff nonstop since Obama realized it was a useful political tool. It's infiltrated everywhere, in our schools, in our workplaces, in our TV shows and movies, in our sports. It's basically created a system where everyone was becoming as timid as Luntz was on this panel and afraid to speak their minds for fear of retribution. And let's not forget that it wasn't enough to prop up all these groups, they had to routinely attack their perceived oppressors with insane accusations about their worth and intentions. I've frankly lost track of how many books and articles I've seen attacking people on the basis of race because they disagree with this stuff. So call me crazy, but I don't think too many people are going to be shedding tears for abolishing a system that's been pitting Americans against each other like that. But let me know what you think. Is there any value to these programs, or were they all a divisive power grab from Democrats from the beginning? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching. Bye.